Do you find yourself searching, yearning for more, but you don't know what that more is? I'm Catherine Duncan, near-death survivor, mystic, and intuitive. Welcome to Everyday Awakening. On this podcast, I explore what it means to be alive. I help you awaken into your soul and live fully now. Through inspiring conversations, we'll dive into mindfulness, spirituality, and the transformative power of presence and living aligned with this universal energy. Together, we'll examine life's biggest questions, and I'll share practical wisdom to help you open your heart and awaken to the preciousness of being alive. Today, I'm thrilled to share with you my conversation with my friend, Cyndi Dale. Cyndi is an internationally renowned author, speaker, healer, business consultant, and the author of over 40 books about energy medicine, intuition, and spirituality. Cyndi has worked with over 80,000 clients and students and presented hundreds of seminars and workshops across America, Russia, England, Amsterdam, Iceland, Belize, Peru, Scotland, and more. She is a favorite teacher and healer in Beijing, China, leading in-person and online classes. Cyndi's books have been published in over 20 languages and continue to reach people worldwide and enrich their lives. Welcome to the show, Cyndi. Great to see you.
It's so nice to see you. Thank you. I know I only speak and read English, so I'm very impressed with the other languages that my books are in that I cannot read.
So I just have to share a vivid memory of you and I starting out it was actually early pandemic that you and I got together. I remember we went for a walk outside. It was really cold here. And from the moment we got together, I felt a deep soul connection with you. I just want to share that memory.
I felt it too. And it's so rare to have that. I think most of us have had an experience like that, maybe a few, where you feel like you just know somebody. And that's how I felt about you, that maybe from some tribe or flight somewhere, we knew each other once upon a time. And since then, I really think we're basically on the same type of journey. It's service. It's service and love and helping people wake up to who they really are.
Lovely. Yeah, I feel the same way. When we get together, it's like we finish each other's sentences. Yeah.
We do a lot of girl talk too.
Yeah. We do. Well, congrats on your library of books published. So exciting. And I'm excited to hear about your new book coming out. I think you said in February, called Transforming the Legacy. And I'd love to hear your inspiration for writing this last book.
Yeah, years and years ago, I was asked to, and this story is going somewhere. I was asked to write an encyclopedia about the subtle body. And I was given 6 months to do it. Cyndi, if you can take the assignments and do it in 6 months, you can have the project. I said yes before I thought about it. And that turned into a subtle body encyclopedia, which was the first of 3 additional tomes, manuscripts. There's a card deck. And my publisher approached me a few years ago and said, everybody these days, and I actually think it has been really since the pandemic too, just to loop back in, is really focused on their legacy. What have they inherited? How can they clean it? How can they clear it? How can they make the best of it? And would you be willing to take a subtle body approach to people's inherited legacies? And I said, of course, but being me, I was like, it's not just our ancestry, our bloodline. It's not just what we call the epigenome. It's not just how we grow up. We have souls. And we talked about that, you and I having a soul connection.
Yep.
Our soul carries in. And what's the reason anyway? Why do we want to update? And what came to me is we really each want to be in that position of taking what's best from the past, not just, kind of erasing what isn't working very well for us. And how about if we go future forward and desire to be our own ancestor? What if we could really stand at this, kind of in the light and then create as we go forward? So that's what's behind the book. It's a lot of subtle body approaches, chakras, meridians, using our energy field, lots of super cool ideas to help each of us going through that process, clean up, acquire what's good, and then maybe we can go future forward. We need to do that in this world. We need to do it for ourselves and our children, I believe.
Mm-hmm. I got a sneak peek of the book, just a few sections, and I love how you had some practices. The God Center, working with light, working with even kinesiology that I work with every day.
These are contemporary energetic ways to get somewhere. And I can't remember how many exercises are in, maybe 30, maybe more. And the reason is that sometimes there's a certain approach that works for me versus for you. And so once somebody goes through the first part of the book and they get this, both the science and the spirit of, wow, I am my history. Maybe I want to be more than my history. There's a lot of different ways to get at that are actually really fun. I think healing is supposed to be boring, and I don't think it should be stale. And I think it could be rather delightful. And there's enough emotion to go through and feel. We have to feel our feelings. I'm sorry. You know that, Catherine. But let's have the journey be exciting and more adventuresome, not just like an Odyssey. Odysseus didn't have the best time on his expedition. Maybe we can make it a little easier.
Yeah, I agree with you. And the pathway to healing, it's feeling your feelings, letting the energy move through your body is how we heal. I'd love to hear your definition of energy. I know in that book, and you've talked about this, the God spot. Yeah, I'd love to hear you share a little more on that.
So, and the God spot is a chamber inside of our heart chakras that I like to come from. In most cultures, we're very heart-based, and it helps people do that. I think of energy very simply. It is everything. Einstein said it. I think everybody knows it now. If you do any science research at all, it's information that vibrates. Information is just data that tells coffee to be coffee rather than tea. Vibration is movement. Everything moves. Even when something's really still, it's really actually, still giving off light, and everything vibrates. But it's vibration that decides if you're going to have hot tea or cold tea. That's all energy is. And it's a very neutral idea. I don't think it's really challenging to people who want to approach their life from a certain viewpoint. Science, a religion, a spirituality, they believe in this or they don't believe in that. I think it's very neutral, but it's the intersection. And I'd love to have your opinion on this too, Catherine. It's the intersection between what we call spirit and emotion and physical. So you work in the middle and you can feel feelings. You can release feelings that you're done with. You can connect with your own soul or connect with your spirit. It's sort of a no man's land, a no person's land, where you certainly are going to have reactions, but it's easier to access your intuition, and it's like the shoelaces, right? That are connecting one side of the shoe to the other. That's what energy is. I mean, you work energy. How do you usually approach it?
I am so attuned to energy, and for my years of working as a chaplain, where 20 some years ago I learned, knowing our energy, but how not to take an energy, like taking an energy, being conscious of how much energy. When I worked at our level 1 trauma hospital as a chaplain, you just can't take in all that energy. In many ways, some people work with it like an eggshell or colors. I just set intention. My favorite is I'll just say, I'm going to send 70, 80%, 90% love and only take in 10 or 20. And when I say that a few times, I can just feel my whole energy field set up. It's amazing and gives me so much breathing room.
Because energy is information. Some information, vibrating information, has no business being inside of us. I don't want to sit here and feel sad. I want to feel empathy, but I don't want to be sad instead of somebody feeling their sadness. And, especially I think today, there's so many complications in the world. We don't want to absorb. I think of it as very scientific. The energy charges that don't suit us or aren't good for us. And like you're saying, we want to take in the stuff that really feeds us, nourishes us, is good for us. So, like you, there's certain things that I want to take in, many things I don't want to take in. I want to stay outside of my field. These days, we call that the biofield, recognizing every part of us is giving off sound, is giving off light, and is giving out us and the streams of energy that are who we are. And as long as we're really being ourselves and emanating ourselves, the stuff that doesn't suit us isn't really going to come in. Now, that's a slow boat because we've been hurt, we've been traumatized, we've been challenged. We already have other people's energies in us from the time we're born. It's interesting, the science is interesting that so many people, what shows up later in their lives comes from what happens even in the womb. How their mother felt, how their dad felt. There's a study of children, babies born with PTSD, and those born with PTSD often had fathers who were at war or doing something very challenging when the mothers were pregnant. So it transfers, and doesn't mean we can't alter what's become part of our energetic makeup. It just means we need to become more aware of it and more conscious of it.
I agree with all of that. And I see this in my private practice. People that have PTSD or trauma, or people that I work with, a number of people that have been adopted and only were with their birth mother for a day or two. And then just the trauma from that separation and that energy.
It is energy, and energy is physical too. I know a fair amount of doctors, physicians, allopathic or, kind of regular scientifically oriented practitioners. And what they do is energetic too. It's just more physical. It's just more measurable than the subtle stuff that I typically work with. But 99.999% of reality is the subtle. It's invisible. And we're all swimming around, kind of trying to taste what's in the room, going, why do I feel creepy in this room? Or why am I happy when I'm sitting in this chair? I've never sat in this chair before. We're kind of groping around in the dark, but having a basic understanding of energy, all of a sudden it's like, oh, that's how I knew that when I was a kid. Or that's why when my aunt died, I knew it the night before. When my grandmother died, my sisters and I were all in different parts of the country. And the night before, we all knew she had died. And when my dad called us, none of us were surprised. We were like, yeah, grandma died. Your mom died during the night. She visited us. She was an interesting person because she saw ghosts and spirits. And when my grandpa, who we call Bubba, died, he would come visit her in the television. So energy, that's just subtle energy. That's all that is.
Yeah. And I experienced that with thousands of people I was with as they died at end of life as a chaplain. And when I was with them, I could feel their energy moving up their body and then come out of the top of their head. It was amazing. And then feel their spirit floating above their body. It was really magical.
And you knew they existed. They still existed. My dad, he was struggling for breath. My sisters and I were in the room with his wife, and I'm trying to help him out of his body. I'm trying to do this willful thing. And I felt what I would call an angel speak to me and just say, I have it handled. And he took a breath, and then he's at the foot of the bed. Just this big light. He was just this big light. And he hovered around my stepmother's kitchen ceiling for a really long time.
Wow.
And my dead uncle showed up a month last year after he died, and I could see him with my eyes, probably because I was doing a psilocybin ceremony, so I could see him with my eyes, just saying. But he had on these florid green golfing pants. And when I told my aunt, about what he was wearing. She goes, "Oh, I just wish I had thrown those out years ago."
Oh, that's so good. Well, I see people, spirits come and see me at night, especially the years I was a chaplain. I'd be with someone dying, and then within days, in the middle of the night, open my eyes, and there they would be, their spirit outline, and kind of nodding, thank you, and then zoom, they would leave. And I still have this happen. But it is interesting when we talk about energy. I first do start to feel it. I feel the shift of energy in the room. I think that's what wakes me up. And then it's like visually, then I see it. So very powerful. And I think the message is death is not an end. We transform.
Death is not the end and birth is not the beginning. And we do inherit what comes before us. It's just, it's like anything. I've been redoing my house for 4 years, and I think I've gone through 7 or 8 dumpsters because everything I brought into the house and then acquired, I just don't want it all. It's just clutter. I throw almost everything away. So and keep the precious pieces. That's sort of what we want to do with our own histories too.
And when I have found in my experience, a consciousness of energy and the feeling tone of energy and how you work with it, it is just game changer, life changing. When I learned this 20 some years ago, it was just like, oh my gosh, I wish I knew this in my younger years. And it's just habit where I'm conscious in the mornings. I work with clients all day and do speaking and all this of my energy and how much I'm using, how much I'm not. And this pertains to if you turn the TV on or if you walk in a busy restaurant or all of that. So I think when you learn that sense of energy and how to work with energy, there's such a freedom and just breathing room.
And how any of us as individuals tune into energy. In my everyday life, I'm very physical about it. I just get it in my body. Sometimes I'm emotional. Sometimes it's just know things. For some of us, it's like we know it needs to be fixed. So we're more relationally based. And many people want the intuitive faculty, which is a way of understanding energy, what's coming in, what's going out, how to communicate, how to direct it. Many of us want the verbal way of working with energy. We want to hear things, until we're awake in the middle of the night with somebody speaking at us and we're not doing our office hours. Or we want to see it, which you can do. I see also clairvoyance. There's so many different ways of being about energy, and most of them are really the empathic, feeling, the senses, the knowing, the consciousness. And, people think they're not tuning into energy just because they think they have to hear it or they have to see it. And those are just 2 of many different styles of relating to energy.
And I think it's exciting when you understand how to work with energy too. I remember it got to be so many patients were coming to wake me up in the night. And I got to work. I just can't be interrupted every night. So I literally put up an energy boundary at night. I'd go to sleep and I'd be like, you cannot come within 20 feet with me. And you can, my bed, and you cannot wake me up. Game changer. And even today, if sometimes subtle energy spirits come and see me at night, my latest is working with a grid around my house, around my bedroom, around me, so that only, anything that's of unease energy can't come near me. And that's a game changer.
It is, because we're in charge of our own energy. And sometimes when people are waking up or when they're young or they kind of seek out hearing things, knowing things, there's you got to have kind of a continuum around it, a sliding door where you can say no or whatever. Years ago, when my son Gabe was young, he was like probably 3 or 4. And I slept next to his room. He kept coming into bed. Now, he did that all the time anyway, but he said, the toys are talking too loud. I'm like, okay, whatever. So finally, I went in his room, and in the middle of the night, his toys would go on, like that darn Buzz Lightyear. Or what did he always say? To the moon and back, or what?
Yeah, to the moon and back.
Yeah, Buzz Lightyear. It was like talking. And I was like, what's happening? And I was directed to look in his closet, and I saw this sort of white vertical shaft, and it was sort of a place that children who had died were being taken out of the earth plane. And a few of them would kind of creep in and play with his toys and then go back out, which I'd never heard of before, but he had great toys. And I'm like, this is fantastic, but take an energy toy with you because we have to sleep in this house. So know your rights, know your yeses, know your nos.
Yeah, I agree with that. So for today, our listeners hearing this who are new to energy and learning about energy, how would you say they should start learning about it? I mean, what I wonder is is it practicing present moment, being able to then breathe into the moment that's where I often go as a starting place if I really want to tune in what I'm sensing, feeling, picking up. But what would you say?
Be here, be now. I use a very short practice that I've cultivated and was actually shown me in a dream that's very simple, that helps you have boundaries and be open. So if I'm going to do anything, I want guidance. I just want to be at peace. I want to fall asleep at night. I want to be open for the beauty of the day. I bring myself into the center of my heart chakra, in the very center of the chest, breathe in. And then I request that my own spirit, my own essence, be in charge of what's going to be happening, because it starts with us. And that's our
lovely.
Immortal self. And then I open to guidance, but only good guidance, only the highest. Could be people I meet during the day, could be an invisible spiritual guide. And then for me, the third step is the most important. I turn everything over to what I would call the greater spirit. Because I don't want to be in charge of everything. And I want my spirit deciding, am I going to let this energy in or keep this energy out? And I even do that when I'm working with clients. I want their spirit to make the decision. Are they going to bring in this energy or bring in the data I'm sharing or not? But ultimately, whatever we call the greatness, God, spirit, the divine, the universe, the divine intelligence is sort of more the science term these days. I love the word presence, and I love the term creator.
I love that. Thank you. I do something similar, just grounding and that energy and that vibration and feel it going up and down in my body. And one thing I've learned also is for anyone listening, but when you experience kind of dark energy or heavy energy, whatever you want to call it, but there's sometimes funky energy, I have learned that I can just say, stop, go away. I ask for light and God protection, and zoom, it's gone. It goes away. Light overshadows any darkness. Do you have any thoughts on that?
It does, once we've owned our power. And that can be a bit of a moving escalator. And, I take my cues too. The New Testament is interesting because Jesus did 33 healings, and most of them were about dark energies, whatever you want to call them, not good energies. Many of them were, and there were three ways that he dealt with them. He did what you're saying. He rebuked. He said, go away. So there was also containment. So we can also ask for whatever is not good or not healthy for us. We can ask for it for others, but we're not in charge if that's going to occur or not. We can ask for containment, seal it off. We can get sealed off, contained, so something can't bother us. Even if we're at a family reunion and we're not feeling really good about it, we can ask to be contained, or, kind of something bothering us to being contained. You can't contain your mother or mother-in-law. It doesn't work that way, but you can try. Or transformation, just ask I just turn this negative energy over. It's not mine to do, but if it can be helped or healed or transformed, please do that. So we're not in charge of the transformation either, but that's kind of optimum. I had a client, he was a ER doctor up in Canada and worked at night. And he had this dark, dark, dark spirit start to bother him and talk to him. He was super psychic. And he brought it to me and we worked on it. And this being wanted to change. He called it a fallen angel. It's not a religious term. It is a bit of an Abrahamic term, though, religious term. And, something that just had wanted to be bad and became bad. And it wanted to change. And it did. And after that, he started having almost miraculous events occur when he was in ER. Like people would be bleeding and he would go, let's stop that bleeding, and it would stop. Or somebody in the middle of a heart attack, he would pray, but that being then would be helpful and the heart attack would stop. So we're not in charge of those kind of conversions, but they're exciting when they happen.
Very interesting. One other way I've worked with energy that's been really helpful to me in work situations, or let's say you're in a social situation and you're just like, oh, I really don't want to take in anything right now, or it's just whatever energy. Even just saying in the moment, I send 100% love, I take in nothing, zero. And it's just like, whew. I mean, I've done this over years and it's amazing.
The healing power of love.
Mm-hmm.
In the 1800s, this man should be known. A doctor, Dr. James Newton. And in the 1850s, he was on a boat and it broke out in yellow fever. He was not able to work on people. He wasn't the ship doctor. Nearly everyone who went to the ship doctor who was really sick died. He didn't have any medicines. He wasn't legally able to operate at any level. And the people came to him. He had a very interesting version of Christianity. He believed the deceased were present. He believed that love was sort of a magnetic cure. He believed there were angels able to help. He believed that love was available to anybody. He would just sit with love with the people. They all survived. He healed thousands of individuals. Why do we not know about this person? You can actually download the PDF he wrote in the 1870s in the old typeface.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Wow.
I know. It's called the Modern Bethesda. One person in Wales saw this sort of white light come through him to a patient who was then able to stand up and walk. And he just codified love. It is real and it's medicinal too.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's beautiful. I'll be looking him up. Yeah. I remember one other comment about energy with people at end of life, hours from dying. I can see light go through people, and I could see some people that there was no aura, there was no energy around them to be able to, they were having trouble leaving. And I would see and imagine light around them, going through them to just help them with light around them so they could reach up and then leave.
That's beautiful. What an assist. And we're all energy maestros already. We are mainly subtle energy, but we've been working it our entire lives, just not so cognitively or consciously. And so, like you were even saying before, to attune more to being in the present, and then, maybe having our own ritual or way of being blessed or blessing, and just saying, show me what to ask for. Show me what to know. Show me how to be with this. I think it can be very simple to more completely understand and decipher energy and direct it if we're called to do that too.
Yep. And we get so much guidance if we're in the moment. Clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentient. I mean, when I'm quiet and still, that's where I get all my guidance for everything. There it is. I hear auditory, I see. But it's there. It's really there if we ask, if we're silent. I think if we listen, I need to be quiet to experience that.
I'm very ADHD, so I'm moving most of the time.
I know that about you. You have a lot of energy. I have a lot of energy, and you're like, woo.
And so I do, as my silence, I clean. I love cleaning. I vacuum. I walk the dogs, and it sort of is my meditation.
That's so good.
Doing without thinking, because gosh knows is great not to think. Then it's like, boom, something will pop in, or I'll just know something or become aware of something. Or I think for many of us, we also get guidance during, I call it the dawn and the dusk, of sleep. Kind of the dusk is right when we're falling asleep. We're not resisting our intuition or messages. So we become aware. And then in those moments we're waking up, that's sort of the dawn, many things just open up them. I mean, Einstein always napped. He was a big napper. I don't nap either, but but you just turn it over and our intuitive faculties, we open up and something will just pop in. And we know, don't you think too, Catherine? We know when there's an accuracy, when we know when there's a message to follow. It's a knowing, and we've really got to believe that and hang into that.
Oh, completely. Even I'll just share starting this podcast. My husband Scott, I think I told you, like, start a podcast a year ago. I'm like, no, I'm too busy with my book launch. And this fall, I finally just out of nowhere was like, okay, should I start a podcast? And I just put it out to the universe. And I heard super loud at midnight, just do it. I was like, whoa.
And there you are. and that was a now moment, like get it going now. I had a funny event about 20 years ago. I dreamed of a series of small books that were each about a different chakra. And this was 20 years ago. So I called my publishers and I said, hey, do you want these books? This would be a really good idea. And they go, no, we don't want them. And I'm like, how can guidance be wrong? 3-4 years ago, I got a call from a publisher. Hey, what do you think of writing a series of books and each about a different chakra? And I'm going, well, I had to say yes, because 17, years before they called me, I was like told to do it. So I don't really understand timing all the time. I know you can't push the river, but you can certainly float on it anyway.
That's so good. Like you, I do. I also get a lot of guidance. And you think of what you're saying, Einstein. Einstein is quoted saying, it's in the stillness that he heard the truth.
Absolutely. It's in the stillness. That's one of my favorite stories in the Old Testament, the Torah, where Elijah was a prophet and he was just he was done. He quit. I'm not working for God anymore. I'm done. So, he went and sat under a tree and an angel fed him for, 3 days. They love these threes. And, kind of said, you got to get back to work. He'd been warring with Queen Jezebel. And he goes, no, I'm done. I'm just done. I put in my duty. I'm turning in my stripes. And the angel was like, do you know how it is the Israelites won? He goes, not really. And he showed him that for every person, there were angels also accompanying, but that didn't convince them. And so the angel said, well, go just ask God. And so he tries all these different ways, to hear, that which he called God, and stands at this cliff and the wind is blowing. And finally he knows he just needs to stop. And the small, still voice spoke. We have our own small, still voice. We can open to the small, still voices. They might come from our animals, like there's something they're showing us. It might come from whatever we call creator. It might come from, a bird in the sky. I was walking my youngest son's dog, Carl, who lives with me all the time. So whose dog is he really? Big wolf dog, big dog. And I wasn't really meaning to be asking a question about my son and his girlfriend. I wasn't really meaning to, but you know how our minds wander. And I was like, I wonder if, and then all of a sudden these two eagles, obviously partnered, flew overhead 6 feet over me and Carl. We looked at each other like, oh my. And both of us watched the eagles fly off, dance with each other. I mean, Carl was just as cognizant as I was. So we have so many sources for being guided. It makes it an adventure.
Such an adventure. I agree. I have to share that one of your prayers is one of my all-time favorite prayers, your healing rays of grace. I remember I learned this from you years ago, and it's so powerful. I think you even make note of it in the book that's about to come out, but about seeing healing rays of grace flow through your body and light flow through you. And when I work with clients, when we're meditating, I can see grace flow through people, light flow through people. It's magical. Do you want to say any comments about that prayer?
I started using that years ago for a couple reasons. One being I read Dr. James Newton's downloadable book from the 1870s, and I thought he was just working with grace, which is love that vibrates, love that makes a difference. And if you think about the definition of energy, information that vibrates, it's vibrating love. I mean, it's not anything deserved, undeserved. We don't need to get into any spiritual quibbles about it. It's everywhere. It's constantly created. And I actually have an image I use when I call, the healing streams or the healing rays of grace for myself, or to ask for them for something or someone else. The image I always get is of a sun, and we are sparks coming off the sun. And we're connected by these streams of grace. Ones that are just connecting us, our spirit, our essence, back to source. And source is constantly emanating anything we need, and we'll even create those streams as we need them. And, so I use that spirit to spirit. I affirm my spirit, other spirits, helping spirits, which can be people and animals and nature. I don't know. I don't have to pick. And the greater spirit. And then I simply request these healing streams or grace or love in motion. And I feel and sense sometimes that they come, if I'm working with myself, they come from inside of me out, or they come from outside to in. And the wonderful thing is I don't have to figure it out. I don't have to know what they're doing. I just know they're there. I know they attach, they change as needed, they fall away when they're not needed. And when I'm working with other people, I don't really bring those streams through me for them. I don't need to get in between them and their higher power.
Yep.
I perceive them going directly to the other, which I think is a very integritous way to work. So my desires, my issues aren't tangled up in what's happening for another either.
Yeah, I agree with that. I love that. And even I have found if you're working with someone, or you have a colleague or someone you're with that's really struggling, or it's hard to be around them, I'll just imagine love flowing through them, or light around them, love flowing through them. And I've done that. And it's amazing to witness the unfolding, the softening, the shift.
It is. And this is a gift we can wish for another, and, keep owning for ourselves. I think many of us, of course, have been traumatized in life and growing up years and years and forever ago. The statistic, John Bradshaw, family systems therapy, was like 97% of all families are dysfunctional. Well, so most of us aren't in those 3%, if those even exist. And so having the sense of grace as just love that's just always present and provided, we learn to love ourselves more when we ask for those for ourselves. It's an act of self-love. And if we don't love ourselves, or it's hard, wishing them for others kind of trains us how important love is. And then we're more willing to take it in for ourselves too.
Mm-hmm. So I have to ask, there's that famous line, choosing fear. Which direction are you embodying? Love, embodying fear? We've just been talking about love, but I'm curious in the moment to ask you fear, and how, so much of people live in this fear-based mentality. It makes me think of going into our body, our ego mind, when we embody and get caught in that limbic loop, that fear loop. Can you share a few words on your thoughts about that?
Well, I think there's two basic types of fear. I think there's a body-based fear that's neurotransmitters or more chemical, that's about survival. And it is loving to pay attention to that.
Yes.
So
I agree. Yep.
We're like, that person is dangerous. I'm not going to go up to them at a cocktail party.
Right. Kind of that fight or flight. And
it's okay. It's okay. And I think it's always important to embrace fear and know when it's triggered, or when it's too big, or when it's just a resistance to love, or whatever it might be. And the first act is to love our fear. It's like it never works to pretend it away or judge it. The only thing that really works is just, oh, I'm in fear. When we see a child who's in fear, we hug them and then we talk to them and then we help them. We're loving with it. So I don't think in the moment that we have fear, or if it's gripping or coming up, whether it's that survival healthy fear or the stuff that's kind of creating more disaster, frankly, or comes from disaster, I think we always meet it with love, and then we can work it through. Then we can get into a place of love.
Love that. That's great. Well, I have to end by asking you the question, curious, can you tell me what you think of the word awakening? What does awakening mean to you, or your experience of awakening been?
It's such a great question, and that's what your podcast is all about, right?
And you're Miss Energy Genius, so I want to hear.
It's awareness with consciousness and conscientiousness, and that's a mouthful. That's just gobbledygook. I mean, I feel like I've had many awakenings, and some of them were when I was really little. I remember actually becoming aware in my mother's womb that I existed and I was in the womb. Then I became aware of their fighting. And then I saw the sound waves of their fighting. And I was like, this is not good. This doesn't feel good. So I think there's awakenings to what feels good. There's awakening to what's not feeling good. But the awakening I think that we're getting to is starting to become aware we are actually citizens of the universe. We are and can become more and more frequently an enlightened being. We can live in an awareness of our power of love and be in it and share it with others. I think it's a continuum. I think we hit different stations with it and get used to them. And then there's another awakening. And all of a sudden it's like maybe a little eureka, maybe a big eureka. And now I have a different way of understanding and I grow into it. So it's like trying on different clothes, and we always get better outfits. We should be getting better outfits as we're shopping, right? I think it's a series of awakening up, to our birthright, of beingness.
Thank you for sharing that. I love that. It makes me think of that famous quote by Khalil Gibran, "The soul unfolds itself like a lotus of countless petals." We're just opening, and it's a choice. It's a practice. It's a consciousness. It's a awakening into your essence, your soul.
Beautiful.
I'd love to have you share with listeners how people can find you. Do you have any exciting events coming up? I know you do.
I always have classes. I have lots and lots of classes. It's super easy at cindydale.com, spelled odd, not ODD, but CYNDIDALE.com. And Transforming the Legacy is out there. It can be ordered. And just go on my website. Everything's there. It's sort of the center point of my world, my business world anyway.
Well, thank you. Such a delight. So much fun. You're such a bright light. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining Everyday Awakening. Let's keep the conversation going online. You can follow me on Instagram at Catherine Duncan, MABCC. And to keep up to date on the show, subscribe on iTunes and leave a review. I'd love to hear from you.